Well, hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to talk more about some of the parts of the Cashflow 101 game. I'm going to start getting into some of the lessons learned from that, and number one, what all the different parts of it mean. But anyhow, if you know what Cashflow 101 is, it's about teaching you how to invest and get out of the rat race, and I'll cover that in a second. But first of all, let's just talk about the game. Now, just like any other board game, it comes with a bunch of little pieces. Like we got some dice here, and we got multi-colors of different kind of placeholders for different functions. If you look inside here, you'll see that you gotta, let's see if I can get this out without, well, let's just open it up. You got yourself some chips, you got, that's not going to work. A cheese. We'll talk about what all that stuff is probably in another video. And you got your rat. Everybody's a rat when they start out. And what else? We got other colors. It comes with some pencils so you keep score. Nowadays people use their phones, or something else to use for writing. But it's important that you use a pencil and an eraser, because on the game card, which is, I'll show it to you here in a minute, you're constantly erasing and rewriting figures on it. So they did have an app for the phone where you could do all that. I have it on my phone. I don't even know if it still works, but anyhow, that way you can keep a running total that way. But I think they discontinued that. What else we got here? We got different colors. Of course, you got to have your cashish. You got to have money to play a money game like Monopoly. I think this is funny. It's a $10,000 bill. They don't print those anymore. Okay, we got that. We got over here all the different kind of cards. You have doodad cards. We'll cover what doodads are in another video. Small deals. The reason why they call them small deals and large deals is because the amount of money it takes to buy them. Just as a side note, generally what you want to do is start out, upside down, with the small deals and work your way up, because the more money involved, the more risks there is, right? And they have the market cards, things that happen in the market, in the economy, locally or nationally, and how that affects your investments. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Okay, let's get this out now. This is a very old game, and it's been taped together several times. And living in Arizona, where it's very dry, things dry out and fall apart. But this is the game board. Let me back up a little bit. Now you see that inner circle where the rat is? That's called the rat race. That's what most of us are in, or most of us have started in. And then you see the funky path that goes around the rat race, above it and all around it. What that is, that's the fast track. And fast track is where you want to be, because your investments and your money start taking care of you instead of you taking care of it. What I mean by that is, let's get my screen back up here. Sorry about that. Okay. The reason why that's important, and I should probably edit this out, but I just lost some data here. Let's get back here. Let's do this. Reverse. There we go. Okay. And that's where we want to be. We don't want to work ourselves to death and work until the day we die, which a lot of people do. I thought that I would do that as well. But we don't want to be there, because we want to have a good life. And we were put here, I believe, to have a good life. But it takes some knowledge and some expertise, and being able to take risks where a lot of us don't. We just want to have a job and have our employer take care of everything. Let's see, what else do we have here? This is your income statement and balance sheet. This is your assets and liabilities. And this is your income and expenses. And you total them all up here. And remember, I told you that there's a rat race and a fast track. So how do we figure out if we're in the fast track or not? Well, your passive income, and we'll talk about that in a minute, not your total income, but your passive income meets or exceeds your total expenses. So in other words, your passive income, which comes from your investments and businesses, is making more than you spend every month on your expenses. That, in other words, your investments are taking care of your lifestyle. Okay, that's what this is all about. Now, where do we get all these numbers here from? Well, we have what's called your profession cards. And here's one. And if you notice, it's got similar data on it to the blanks on this page. So when you get this card handed out to you, you take all those numbers and you put it up here and you put the card back in the box because you don't need it anymore, because this is fixed and this is variable depending on how you play the game. Okay, I'm gonna put that down for now. Now, when these cards are given out at the beginning of the game, they are just dealt out like when you play any other card game. You don't get to pick these. Why? Because we know that most of us get into a field that we didn't necessarily pick. Like for me, I was originally pre-med. I wanted to become a doctor. And, life happens and sometimes you go a different route. And I went from doctor to studying applied psychology, and took some programming classes in college in case that didn't pan out, and it didn't. And I stayed in IT. That was my career. It wasn't my plan to stay there. It was, as I told my last supervisor, as I was getting ready to exit the company, it was the longest temporary job I ever had. So anyhow, that's why they just get handed out. Now, so we have all these different professions. We have doctor, airline pilot, teacher, engineer, nurse, all the way to janitor. Now, what's interesting when you lead these groups is that when someone gets someone like a doctor or a lawyer handed to them, they go, "Oh, look at that, I make a lot of money." And one more little comment here about the numbers. See if I can do that without a lot of glare. Anyhow, the numbers, they may look small to you, and it was this game was produced back in the 90s, and the cost of everything was less than, but the ratios and the principles behind the games are still relevant today, regardless of what amount it has there. So that's an aside. So anyhow, someone gets a doctor card. They go, "Ooh, look at me, I'm a doctor. I'm gonna make a lot of money, which means I'll probably make good investments out of the rat race faster." And then you look at the janitor, and when people get the janitor card, they get bummed out thinking like, "Oh, I'm a janitor, I'm never gonna get out." But can I tell you something? Let me see if I still have this spreadsheet up here. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability right now to show you this as well. But anyhow, that's not true. And there are several times when I played the game, when I was either involved in the game when I was teaching it, or when I went to someone else's game, janitors tend to get out of the rat race faster than the people at the higher income level. Why? Come on now. Why is because they may have a higher income level, but they tend to have a higher expense to income ratio. Like in this game, let me see here, where's my spreadsheet? There it is. Nope. It won't let me bring it up. What's wrong here? Let's do this. Okay, now we got it. So, now in this game, these cards, and it varies in real life as well, but on average, what this is that like a doctor, for instance, has a expense to income ratio of 73%. So that's getting up there. Basically, their expenses are almost as much as their income. So they don't have a lot to play with. They may have amount of dollars to play with, but in many ways, when they're starting out, they're one paycheck away from, losing it. And then we go down the janitor, and the janitor is 59%. So a little over half of that person's income goes to expenses, and the rest is something they can keep. So they could save the money up, they could use it for other things. So, but anyhow, that's It sounds weird, but it's a fact. And let me give you an example. I was at a RIA meeting, and RIA stands for Real Estate Investment Association. They're all around the country. And what it is where they invite people from the outside, experts in whatever version of investing or law or accounting or whatever, anything's related to the business of investing, primarily real estate. And as is my way, I'm usually one of the first people to jump up after the presentation and bend the ear of the presenter to ask them more questions, because that's just my nature. And while I was standing there waiting for my turn and asking for a variety of questions, a woman walked up, fairly young, and I think that was her husband with her. Yeah, they were married, and I think they had a small family. And she had all the trappings of money. She had nice clothes. She talked about the car she had. She talked about the house she lived in, the neighborhood she lived in. She was a doctor, and I don't think she was just a GP, primary. She was a specialist of some sort. And she says, I really need help. How can I get involved in this game, not the cash flow game, but investing game, when I don't have any money? And she says, I'm a doctor, and we have expenses, and I've got student loans, and I can't remember exactly the amount it was, but it was like her biggest expense was her student loans from going to medical school. And just because someone looks like they got money, has a nice car, nice house, whatever, does not mean they are rolling in dough. Whatever they make goes right back out the door for their expenses. And that's what this is showing too, is that on average, the expenses for the professionals are a lot more than people who are, say, an hourly worker. Think about it, for a lawyer, doctor, airline pilot. I don't know about airline pilots, but I know they make good money. But doctors and lawyers have all sorts of insurances, in case someone sues them, or a doctor in case they do something, malpractice insurance. That stuff ain't cheap, and just to function, you got to have it. In order to get your license, you got to have it. And I'm sure your licensing is not cheap either. But anyhow, what my point is that if you ever play this game, go or someplace and play it. Celebrate becoming a janitor, because honestly, you're probably going to be one of the first people. If everything else is being equal, experience and knowledge, you're probably going to be one of the first people out of the rat race. So we got that out of the way. So we talked about transferring data from the cards onto your game sheet. Getting out of the rat race by having your passive income exceeding your expenses. Janitors are more likely to get out first. And what else do I want to show you? Now, on the back of this is the rat race card. So that's your balance sheet and income statement. This is what you're using when you're in the rat race. Now, once this number up here, ding, 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 passive income exceeds your expenses, then you flip it over. There's a lot of things you do, but you flip it over. Basically, what happens is you'll notice when you flip over here, your income shoots up, and your monthly income versus expenses goes way up. I mean, what this is that you're away from bondage now. Now, just because you're in the fast track doesn't mean you can't become bankrupt, doesn't mean bad things can't happen to you. I mean, you still have issues like, someone goes in the hospital, or, a kid needs braces or whatever. That kind of stuff still happens. But you'll find out that once you get in there, you can leverage things more. So like if you buy a pizza restaurant, this is an example of one of the things on the fast track. It's easier to leverage that business to buy another one or another kind of business. Take that money and make it explode. And that's just the way things are, man. And the thing is what most of us, when we go through, K through 12 and college and TV and every other thing that affects our lives, we're not taught that. We're taught something completely different. It's that, go to school, get good grades, go to college, get good grades, get a good job, retire and die. That's pretty much the plan. And the world is set up, at least in the United States, is set up for people to become employees, not entrepreneurs. I mean, there is training and there is things in books and stuff how to become an entrepreneur, but that's not the focus. The focus is that they're setting us up to be an employee for someone else's company. And this game is teaching you the basics on how to be the one hiring employees, okay? Let's see if there's anything else on this I want to get to. I think I've talked about it's upcoming, about the lies we've been fed. I'm not going to cover that today, but I'm going to do a video on that as well. But one of the lies that we've been fed is one of the reasons we have what they call class warfare is that if you're blue collar or an employee or whatever you want to call yourself, that the rich people that have that own the companies and things like that, live in the nice neighborhoods, bad things are said about those folks, like they stole the money or they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Yeah, it's true. Some people do steal money. Some people are born into a rich family. And there are advantages, not only having someone else inherit money from a family member to make them wealthy, but also living in a family that has a business and is successful. They're going to learn things that the rest of us never do. And so if you want to get out of the rat race, you need to learn a whole different set of rules, mindset, like how do you think on a daily basis, things like that, and how you view money. So anyhow, I really encourage you to play the game or study up on this stuff some more. I will do what I can to bring to you what I know and what I've learned in my lifetime with investing in money. And the bottom line, I'm going to give you, I'm going to put in these videos a disclaimer. I am not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a tax person. So anything I say is my opinion. And if you want to get advice, go to those kind of people for that kind of help. All right? So let's see what else I got here. I think that's it. You got to see the innards of the game, and it is fun, and it's like Monopoly. It takes about 3 hours on average to play. So if you're going to play the game, you have to dedicate some time to that. And I think in one of my previous videos, I talked about where you can find these games. You can just go on the web and Google Cashflow 101 games in your area. Meetup.com. You can probably find it there. But there's different versions of it. There's the original version, like I have, which I really like, is the Cashflow 101 game. And now I think the current game is just called Cashflow. Maybe it is called Cashflow 101, because they used to have a 202 as well, which gets you into doing investments in the stock market, fancy things like puts and calls and leveraging and all that stuff. I mean, it's over my head. I used to play it. I never really taught it. I wanted to, but kind of fuzzy for me. So anyhow, you can do that. 99.9% of the time it's free. They don't charge you to do that. Bring a bottle of water or whatever, snacks to share with the people at your table. It's a good place to learn because everybody sees things differently, how money works, and have different experiences. So there's a lot of cross training there. Also, you'll meet up with some people that are investing right now, fairly successful at it, and you can do some networking, like either find a mentor, just people you can learn from, because there's a lot of moving parts in investing, especially real estate investing, and you don't want to do it all yourself, because if you do something all yourself, yeah, you might be making more money than you are now as an employee, but the thing is it's limited. You work with other people, you team up, the sky's the limit. So, but anyhow, that's another place to meet people. Same thing as at the RIA meetings, real estate investors associations. Go there. Those are usually not free. You can either buy an annual membership or pay as you go. But those are good things to meet other people that are in the field, investors, even real estate agents are there. Financiers are there, private lenders. We'll get into some of that stuff later. But they usually have somebody that comes and talks about, that they're the guru of this kind of investing, because when people think of real estate investing, they just think of buying a house or an apartment complex, and that's it. No, there's a lot of moving parts, and everybody that comes talks has a different specialty, whether it's finance, um, for not 401ks. What's the other one? It slips my mind right now. But anyhow, there's lots of different ways to use money, other people's money, um, things you need to know, tenant landlord laws, where you are, things like that. There's a lot to it. And you can't be an expert in everything. So again, this is a team sport. And if you notice, like the way the economy's been going for a while, usually, well, it's been decades, but it's been really bad the last 3 or 4 years with COVID, and also supply chains, all that stuff they told us about. Inflation has been killing us. And if you just work for a living, work for someone else, you're not going to keep up. Having money in the bank, you're losing that money. The value of your dollar is just plummeting. And how do you know that? I'm not supporting them, so this is not an ad for Taco Bell. But I went to Taco Bell today, and I had a Mexican pizza, which is just a little tiny snack, basically, and a medium diet Pepsi, and it cost me $10. When I was in college, $10 would buy me a nice meal. Anyhow, so if we don't learn this stuff and try to apply it, we're going to go backwards. I don't care how educated you are. I don't care if you have a master's. I don't care if you're the senior person in your unit at the business you work at. You're not going to keep up. Not unless the inflation goes backwards, and that's also a bad thing. We don't want to go into a recession, but that could happen. But the thing is about investing is there's ways you can learn to make money, whether it's going up, going down, or sideways. And this game is a great place to start. So anyhow, with that, I think that's all I have for this time around. See you in the next video. Take care.